let's talk about ambition. I mean, really think about it. What happens when you decide to write a book that's not just chronicling space history,
right,
but tries to weave together astronomy, biology, history, philosophy, even like a sense of human purpose?
It's huge, the sheer scale of it.
Exactly. The audacity is why it became legendary, I think.
It is. And that staggering vision, well, that's precisely why we're doing this deep dive today.
Okay.
Our source material is excerpts from Cosmos, Carl Sagan's landmark 1980 book. You know, the one that went with the TV series.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Changed everything for a lot of people.
For a whole generation.
So our mission here is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the biggest aha moments, those lasting philosophical lessons from Cosmos.
Think of it as your shortcut, maybe.
Yeah, a shortcut to understanding its massive impact. Not just what he taught us, but, you know, what that knowledge sort of demands from us now.
It really wasn't written like a textbook, was it? It was more like a declaration.
Agreed. So let's start with the scope then. Because if you look at Cosmos, its structure, it's this incredible journey across billions of years.
Yeah.
Sagan isn't just describing like pretty nebulae. He's building this whole narrative connecting tiny life beginnings to our, well, vast unknown future.
And that narrative structure is so key. He kicks off, logically enough, with the origins of the universe.
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang, yeah. How galaxies form, stars, and that slow grind of stellar nucleosynthesis. You know, the process that actually creates the element.
So we're made of.
Precisely. And from that fundamental stuff, he pivots right into life and adaptation.
Okay.
He really digs into evolution, genetic diversity, how life managed to adapt here on Earth, and crucially, the chemistry, the actual building blocks that somehow shifted non-living matter into us.
Self-replicating things.
It's amazing how he links that biology directly to human civilization. And importantly, the fragility of our knowledge. Yes, he doesn't see science as just a modern thing. He makes a point of highlighting these critical contributions from ancient civilizations, Greek, Egyptian, Islamic thinkers.
Right, that's the foundation.
He treats knowledge itself as this delicate thing humans built, something precarious.
That focus on history really hits home when he talks about losing knowledge. He kept bringing up the Library of Alexandria, didn't he?
He did. For Sagan, Alexandria wasn't just, you know, a burnt library. It was this powerful symbol of how easily our collective wisdom can just vanish.
Yeah.
Fanaticism, politics, even just neglect. And that story really sets up his later emphasis on the scientific method.
So he's basically saying, look, we need skepticism, reason, evidence, not just for progress, but they're like the tools that stop the library burning down again.
That's it, exactly. They're essential for survival, for understanding. And then finally, he pushes out beyond Earth.
To the stars.
Yeah, exploring the search for extraterrestrial life, SETI. And then he tackles the future of humanity, which is quite a mix. Hope, but also some stark warnings.
Okay, so he builds this massive stage, takes us from cosmic dust clouds right up to the modern observatory. But how did he pull it off without it just feeling like a lecture? Why did it resonate so deeply?
Well, it really comes down to his style, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sagan deliberately blended rigorous, solid science with his almost poetic, lyrical way of talking about
Right, it wasn't just facts.
No, the language was meant to hit you emotionally, inspire that sense of cosmic awe. Critics pointed out that Cosmos did something pretty rare. It bridged science and, like, real literature.
He kind of gave us permission to be amazed by it all. And that lyrical touch, that must be what fueled its global impact, right? Inspired a whole generation.
Definitely. And that impact comes from the power of these maybe three main thematic tensions he keeps exploring.
Okay, like what?
First, this incredible, almost spiritual sense of interconnectedness, you know, between life and the entire universe. Second, that really sobering idea, the fragility of human civilization when you set it against cosmic time, makes us look tiny.
Very tiny.
And third, that constant struggle between ignorance and knowledge, between fear and wonder. He was always pulling you towards wonder.
Now, speaking of rigor, we should probably acknowledge the feedback from sources. It was written in 1980, some specific science points, cosmology. Things have moved on a bit since then.
That's true, yeah. Science moves fast. But, you know, if we look at the bigger picture, the reason the book still feels essential, I think, is that the core philosophy, it's timeless, the insights about humility, curiosity, our collective responsibility, they're just as urgent today, maybe more so than back in the Cold War era.
Which brings us neatly to those core lessons, the big philosophical takeaways that define what he called being a cosmic citizen. These are the ideas that really stick with you.
Absolutely. And the first, probably the most profound, is that idea. We are star stuff.
That's the big one.
It's the ultimate connection, right?
Yeah.
Biology and cosmology meeting. And it's not just a nice phrase, it's literal science.
Yeah.
All the heavy elements in our bodies, the carbon, oxygen, iron,
Yeah.
they were forged inside massive stars that lived and died billions of years ago, exploded as supernovae, scattered that stuff across the galaxy. We're made of it.
So, okay, if the science says we're literally chemically connected to the Big Bang, what's the philosophical response Sagan is pushing for? What does that connection demand from us?
Well, it implies this deep inherent meaning, maybe, but also a pretty radical responsibility.
Oh, so?
If we're made of the same stuff as the universe, then destroying ourselves or our planet, it's not just a human tragedy, it's kind of cosmic event. It demands reverence, I think.
That reverence for scale, it leads right into the second lesson, doesn't it? Humility and perspective.
Oh, definitely. Sagan mastered the zoom out. He championed that iconic image of Earth. This is just a pale blue dot, remember that? Just suspended in a sunbeam in this vast darkness.
Unforgettable image.
And that shift in scale, it's designed to just deflate our arrogance.
Yeah.
He argued, from that far away, all our squabbles, borders, short-sighted fights, they look utterly insignificant, laughable almost.
Yeah.
It's this unavoidable call for cooperation, for humility right now.
I wonder, though, we live in a time where global conflict, polarization, it feels so intense. Does that pale blue dot lesson still cut through? Or does the sheer scale just make us feel helpless today?
I think it cuts through because the scale is so jarring. If you really accept how vast everything is, you realize the problems we face, climate change, resources, these are problems of a shared, very fragile island. The humility isn't meant to make us feel worthless. It's meant to make us reprioritize.
And reprioritizing depends on the tools we use to understand the world. Which brings us to lesson 3. Science is a candle in the dark.
Absolutely. Sagan saw rational inquiry, science, as basically humanity's best defense system.
The antidote.
The necessary antidote, yeah.
Yeah.
To superstition, dogma, all those forces of unreason. The light from the scientific method lets us see clearly, and maybe most importantly, it lets us correct our own mistakes.
When he warned about anti-scientific thinking,
Right.
what did that look like back in the 80s, and how does it map onto today?
Well, back then, the warnings were often tied to, rigid ideologies, the nuclear threat, brinkmanship.
Right.
But his definition of anti-scientific thinking is timeless, really. It's just preferring comfortable beliefs over uncomfortable evidence.
And today,
yes, that translates directly into, systemic misinformation, doesn't it? Climate denial, the political weaponization of irrationality. It's attacking the shared reality he tried so hard to build.
Which makes that fourth lesson, responsibility and survival, feel less like philosophy and more like an urgent mandate.
Exactly right. Sagan was clear. Curiosity isn't just a nice hobby. It's essential for our progress, our survival. He called it the adventure of discovery.
Yeah.
His warnings about civilization's fragility were stark. Our long-term survival. It depends entirely on us not destroying ourselves.
And if we connect those 80s warnings, nuclear war, mostly to today,
right,
the specific threats might shift a bit, ecological collapse maybe, but the core challenge is the same, isn't it? Avoid self-destruction. Fight the irrationality.
Cosmos really did redefine popular science. It took us from, the birth of elements to why we need to look for life elsewhere. It gave us that mandate, be a cosmic citizen.
Recognize we're star stuff.
And act with the humility and reason needed to keep this pale blue dot going. It's the only home we've got.
So thinking about Sagan's intense focus on how fragile civilization is, symbolized by losing ancient knowledge like Alexandria, and how he specifically called out those Greek, Egyptian, Islamic contributions as foundations. It raises a big question for you, the listener. Given all that, what single piece of wisdom or principle from those ancient sources, the bedrock of rational thought he admired, what single thing do you think is most critical for humanity to really internalize right now, to avoid the kind of self-destruction Sagan was so worried about?
Something that demands immediate action, maybe.
Yeah.
Driven by that cosmic perspective he gave us.
A profound thought to wrestle with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Cosmos.